This is the Final Round Podcast, coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now your host, Chris Marquardt. Good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the Final Round Drag Racing Podcast, episode number 45, on deck tonight from a steamy FingerLakes1.com studios here in Seneca Falls. Congratulations out to one Jason Oldfield, the champ of the Elite Eight, right? Basically, is that
correct?
Is that fair to say?
No, that's fair to say.
This
I
was
guess
the internationally recognized Dragway 42 top 8 shootout, and you won, which brings your career win total to
one.
No,
I have no idea. Honestly, it's been a long time coming for sure, but. Yeah, I don't know when the last time I won, honestly. But yeah, it was nice to win for sure. But yeah, career win total, I have no idea. Couldn't tell you.
Isn't it always nice to win?
Yeah,
I mean, you think of a time where you're like, wow, it's a real bummer that I won this.
Yeah, but I have to say, there's definitely times when it's nicer than others. This is definitely one of them, just because of the fact that we were out of town at a track that we don't normally race at, and with a lot of really good racers, some pretty big hitters that were there too. So it was nice to have a good showing and basically, I guess, kind of show those guys that, hey, yeah, I'm not just a chump. I can hold my own against you guys.
And how did everybody back home take it?
I don't think anybody cared, honestly. Yeah. It's like, yeah, whatever, okay, yeah.
It wasn't general surprise. It wasn't shock and awe. It wasn't utter disdain.
Well, I will say that in general, I didn't...
Because I always thought it was better to be hated than ignored.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Well, I will say that, I didn't actually post anything about winning the race on Saturday. I was pretty busy running the Saturday show. So we had the first Western NY SuperRod Association race on Saturday, then the top 8 shootout followed that Saturday night, and then Sunday morning we got right back into running the second race of the weekend. Sure. So I was pretty darn busy, and I wasn't getting on Facebook and basically bragging to everybody about how great I was doing Saturday night.
Was Phil?
Not until he actually didn't say anything until we got home. It wasn't until Monday morning that he posted anything. So, right. Yeah, I texted my wife quickly that that I'd won Saturday night. But yeah, for the most part, nobody really knew.
Just reloaded that Scopely tire fund, huh?
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. I was actually just doing a quick calculation. Actually, for the weekend, the expenses weren't too bad. It was. We spent about $300 in fuel to get down and back. It was $100 to enter the first race. It was $100 to enter the second race. It was $100 to enter the top 8 shootout. Trying to think what other expenses we potentially had. But in the end, when all was said and done, it was really between winning the top 8 shootout, and then we did a number 1 qualifier bonus on Sunday, which I happened to be lucky enough to get that Sunday morning as well. It's funny too because so we run on a 640 index in the 8th mile, and when I went through, right in front of me was John Jablonski, and I saw John pop up a 641 on the scoreboard. I went through and 641 popped up, and I figured, okay, I got an outside shot of hitting number 1, but. Right. Probably won't be very good. Well, I happened to hit 641 with a 0, and there was a few other 641s as well, and I beat all of them. And nobody, for whatever reason, Sunday morning ran 640 with 640 with whatever. Right. Saturday, first time run, we had 4 guys that went 640 on the very first run. Wow. So really, to be honest, I got some luck Saturday night in the top 8 shootout, and I got lucky again Sunday morning. The fact that nobody was able to get in on that 641 with a 0 run. So all told, we quote unquote won $800 between the two, but it was about a break even weekend. And we don't do this for money. We do this for fun. So if you can go racing for the weekend and break even for the weekend, right. You had a pretty good weekend break overall.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, no, there's nothing wrong with that at all.
when you start doing the math of everything and you're not losing money doing it.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Now,
it makes it more fun.
Yeah. Now, that doesn't include wear and tear on the race car, right? Or on the tow vehicle, I guess, either. And I will say that my car was a little worse for wear come Sunday night when we were loading up and going home. So the headers that are on my car are 30 years old. And when I had the car redone, 6-7 years ago, Chris Panny he did all the interior tin on the car, and when we got it all done, we moved one of the front frame rails. I guess we'll call it a front frame rail. It was one of the frame rails that ties the cage to the main frame rail, and we moved that slightly. And with that slight move, it made it so I couldn't get the headers on anymore. So Chris came out and he's like, well, I'll just cut the one tube that's hitting real quick, and we'll turn it a little bit and weld it back up again, and you'll be good to go. And when he started welding that back up, he's like, wow, these are paper thin. He's like, you're going to need headers soon. Well, for the most part, over the last 6 years, I've been running Phil's car. I haven't run my car. So prior to this race, found a small hole in the one header.
Right.
And it started about the size of my pinky nail. This is actually, I guess, 2 weeks ago. By the time that race was done, that pinky nail hole turned into a hole the size of a silver dollar. Yeah. So Phil and I patched it, and I'm like, all right, well, that hopefully will be good and will get us through to
What'd you patch it with?
So Phil actually took a piece of tubing, a piece of header tubing, and basically cut it right down the middle, and we just took it and used a couple of hose clamps and some RTV.
You couldn't possibly have welded the patch on there.
No.
There's nothing to weld it to.
There's very little material there, right? But we thought about potentially doing something. But we just said, hey, we'll just put this patch on there and see how it holds. And so by the time the end of Saturday came, our patch had covered that hole, but that hole had grown again to another silver dollar size hole on top of it. So Sunday morning we put another patch. Thankfully, Phil brought all the stuff to make a patch just in case. So we put another patch on top of that. And we just pulled the headers off last night and went through it. And there was, on the driver's side, 4 tubes. There was 4 holes, some bigger than others.
At the bends? In the back of the bends?
They're generally all at bends. Yeah, they're generally all at bends.
Where the car's got to change direction.
Right. So I know John Torelli, who we had on the show, he actually... he has my headers at the moment. He tried calling me earlier today. Basically, I'm looking for John to... Can you please just patch these somehow to get us through the end of the year? And at the end of the year, we'll have a new set of headers built for the car. And so, anyways,
And just to be clear, which car is this on?
This is a Corvette.
This is the Corvette.
This is my car. Yeah. This is the Corvette. So,
did you get those links I sent you?
Links. Oh, yes, I did actually.
I was telling you about that thing that we did at the dealership that had the Corvette rally.
Right.
That was the first one. It was in Canandaigua.
Right. And I couldn't actually read that one because the Finger Lakes Times had it blocked without creating an account. Now the second link from the one that was from the car show in Seneca Falls, a couple weeks ago.
That was in Geneva.
In Geneva,
okay. In Geneva. Seneca Falls was the following day.
Okay, right? Yeah. So the one in Geneva, I was able to read that link when that went up. So I did read that one, but I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't able to read the other one. But anyways, so that's the story of my weekend. So right now the car's torn apart. It wasn't really all that good, to be perfectly honest. I wasn't that good, to be perfectly honest. I lost first round. I lost to Ron Lower, both first round on both Saturday and Sunday. Saturday I just got beat, plain and simple. Sunday I should have won first round, but I gave the stripe back. I had him covered. I got down to the finish line. I didn't want to break out, so I hit the brakes, and I hit the brakes too hard, and I let him go by me and gave him the finish line. So, like I said, and I wasn't that good. And that said, the car, I thought I'd set the car up to be fast enough, and it wasn't. The car really wasn't all that consistent. Come to find out that I have a shifter solenoid that is going away.
You know anybody that makes solenoids?
Actually, Beyond Racing Products, actually. So, when I installed the shifter solenoid that's in the car, I don't know if they specifically had it on their instructions, but the K&R kit that I have inside the car says to wire it specifically to a specific terminal, and that's what I did. And the downside is when you do that, when the power is onto the car, that solenoid is on, and it gets really hot.
Sure.
And I talked to Sal actually earlier this week about getting a replacement. He's like, you need to wire it to the ignition switch, not to the main power. So I got a replacement one coming.
Oh, so that if the battery's hooked up, it's hot. Not
Right,
even the ignition.
right, exactly. Yep, exactly. And so I'm sure I burned it out prematurely because of that. When the ignition is on, the ignition's only on for
seconds at a time.
Yeah, maybe a minute, right? So probably if I would have wired it the right way, it would have been fine. But
I thought it was wired the right way. It says it goes to this post. If you'd wired it, if you'd customized it, then it would save the longevity, right?
Right, exactly. So like I said, I wasn't really all that.
That wouldn't make your car track to one side, would it?
No.
Oh man, I thought maybe we'd solve the other car's
problem. Oh no.
Everybody at home just shut everything off. They're like, don't listen to that guy.
Right.
Like,
yeah. He's just a loser. Can't get a car to go straight. He has no idea what he's doing.
No, because I said that. Not you.
No. Because of you. Because not because of me. Oh, okay.
I was trying to take that heat for you, but then you put it on yourself anyway. So
nah. Yeah, and like I said, I wasn't particularly good this past weekend. Like I said, I got lucky. The only thing that was good is I was good on the tree all weekend.
Because you got that tester.
Well, that certainly doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt to hit the practice tree, but I've been good on the tree all year. But yeah, my last 4 runs, on the tree, I was like 10, 7, 5, and 000.
Wow.
So yeah, real happy with the reaction times.
That's crazy.
If I could drive the top end, I might be a force to be reckoned with. If I could get the car to go consistent, I might be a force to be reckoned with.
When was the last time the Corvette was out?
We had it out. I'm trying to think if we had it out last year or not. I might have had it out last year, but not much. 2 years ago for sure. 2 years ago we had it out at Empire for the IHRA points race.
Right.
I can't remember if I had that out last year for the IHRA points race or if that was 2 years ago.
I don't think so. I don't think you did.
I don't think I did either.
We can go back and listen to episodes and see if we can pin down, but I don't think you did.
Yeah, I don't think I did either.
So, it hasn't been sitting in the garage, or has it been sitting in the trailer?
No, it's been in the garage up on jack stands, and that's a problem too. Is that you have a car that basically is just sitting there, not moving and not doing anything, which really isn't good for it. And not to mention the fact that you just it's a different car. I won't say it's not like riding a bike. I get back in the Corvette and I'm pretty comfortable, but there's still an adjustment between flipping between Phil's car and my car. It's not the same.
Well, you've got more passes in the Corvette, right?
Oh, yeah, I definitely have. Well, I will say certainly over the last 5 or 6 years since I've had the Corvette done, that's not true. I have far more passes in Phil's car than I do in my car. But yeah, all told, I have way more passes in the Corvette. Right. But like I said, it's sort of like riding a bike, but I still need more seat time for sure.
Right. Who doesn't?
Well,
Who doesn't need more seat time? That's a given, isn't it? It's just
and it's funny too because I was thinking, so the way the shootout worked. Again, you got, and this Gary Harper, who we're going to have on from Dragway 42 here.
He's coming up about 15 minutes.
15 minutes, right? He actually had this idea. So NHRA typically at points races does shootouts like this for the top 8 qualifiers.
Yeah.
And I think the way that they typically do it is they collect, let's call it $20 from everybody up front. And then if you potentially want to give yourself the opportunity of being in the top 8 shootout, and then if you make it, okay, great, you make it. And Gary's idea was, hey, you know what? Rather than doing that, he goes, why not make it where the entry is a little bit higher, but you guarantee essentially the top 8 guys their entry. So your number 1 qualifier, okay, you're in the top 8 shootout. It's $100 to enter. Do you want to get in? Now guys would be willing to spend a little bit more money because it's guaranteed, right? They have their spot. It's up to them whether or
You're
not
not gambling on yourself.
Exactly.
And if you're in, who's saying no?
Well, I almost,
Are you kidding me?
I almost said no. I was on the fence, and that's where I was going with this.
Real quick, where did you qualify? This is Saturday. Where did you end up qualifying?
Third or fourth.
So you're top. You're on the better half of the bracket.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I went 40 with a 7, I think. 40 with a 7, 40 with a 9. I was 30. Yeah, like I said, I was third or fourth.
And your first round loss.
I lost first round.
And then, without knowing it, you're going to do the same thing the next day. Can you imagine if you didn't?
Yeah, I would have been kicking myself, for sure. Yeah, I definitely would have been kicking myself.
I mean, you never would have known that you were going to win it. But, how many times... And then, here's another story just in itself, is how many times we heard, well, you win on Saturday and even go through in top qualifier and still lose first round. We've had that story dozens of times on the show. I mean, who hasn't had to endure that headache?
Right. Yeah, I was on the fence because I went 40 with a 7 first time trial.
Right.
First qualifying pass. Second qualifying pass, I wanted to speed the car up a little bit, trying to give myself a better shot of getting that number 1. Now I felt like, all right, I can take a shot at it because I was pretty much guaranteed top 8 at that point.
Right.
And the car went from... Well, geez, I got my time tickets right here. I went from 40...
Conveniently.
I went like 36 or something like that. It was crazy. I mean, it was not even close. And at that point, I was like, I don't really know how close. Yeah, I went 36 with a 1. So I'm like, I'm not even really close where I thought. And then I lost first round. I mean, and I got beat. I was slow first round. So it wasn't.
Did you dial it back after you went?
Right. Yeah, I tried to dial it back a little bit, and the car went slow, and I was second off the starting line, and I really wasn't feeling all that confident after losing first round. It's like, all right, so I'm in the top 8, great, but do I want to throw $100 at something that I'm not feeling all that confident, and the car doesn't seem that consistent at this point in time? In the end, the only reason why I did it was because I'm like, you know what? I could probably use another time trial to try and figure out what's going on.
Just a practice run.
So I'm like, you know what? I'll throw $100 at it. If I lose first round, I lose first round. At least I get one more run to prepare for tomorrow's race. And yeah, as luck may have it, I ended up.
What was your number? What would you have to hit?
What did I have to hit for what?
In the top 8 shootout.
Oh, to actually be in?
No, not so much to get qualified, but in the races itself. Were you running on a dial?
So no, it was the same 640 index, just like for Super Rod or Super Gas. So yeah, I mean it was the same thing.
So it's just an extra race for the top 8. It's not like they do anything different in terms of the structure.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
No, nothing different. It's just let's call it at that point, it's an invitational, right?
Right.
Top 8 qualifiers get invited to be able to be in this special race.
We're going to invite you over. Give me your money.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And and we tried to make it a nice extra special race for the guys. So it was 600 to win, 200 to runner up. I got Dwayne LaFleur from Lucas Oil. He threw in a prize package, so we had a nice little extra prize package.
That's the guy we've run into him periodically at Empire, right?
I don't. Oh well, you know what? When you were out at Empire, he was there.
He was already there.
Yeah, he was there. Yeah, a couple of years ago, last year.
It was last year at some point, yeah. Last year. It was when we were parked. We set up camp way in the back corner and realized there's no internet service there, regardless of how good your hotspot is.
Yes.
And we had it was the braided wire car. It was the Texas company. I can't think of his name. I always say his name wrong.
Maduri, yeah, Pete Maduri. Yep.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, with Dynabraid.
I know nothing, but I know that.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. So Dwayne.
So if you didn't throw the $100 in, was Phil going to do it?
Oh no. No. I mean, Phil. I will say, Phil and I are generally on the same page with regards to that type of stuff. So if I would have said, you know what, Phil, I don't think it's a good idea to do this. We shouldn't throw the money at it. No, Phil would have been like, yeah.
He wasn't going to make you raise.
No.
So it's just going to be a practice run for you.
Right. And
then what?
I don't even remember. I'm just looking here just to try and figure out, all right, what happened. First round of the shootout. So I didn't want to, and I didn't want to red light, and Phil didn't want me to red light. So I had been running with 15 in the delay box. By this point in time that we were running, it was 8 o'clock at night, so it was dark. And I have to say, I was running around like a madman because I'm trying to coordinate the end of race number 1. And talking to the track manager, it's like, hey, Gary, do we have time to do this, all the rest of it? So all right, we decide that we do have time. So we ran first round of the shootout at 9:18 p.m. Fireworks are scheduled for 10 p.m. So we got 40 minutes basically to complete this 3-round race. And like I said, I was running around like a crazy person at this point in time. Now my car had been sitting all afternoon because I lost first round. So I'm warming the car up. As I'm warming the car up, they're calling us up to the lanes. It was funny too. I wish I would have had it on camera. Phil's jumping around, waving his arms like a crazy person as I'm warming the car up because they're calling us. And it's like, I knew they were calling us, but look, the car's got to be warmed up. You don't warm it up to the same temperature that you make your other passes. It's not going to be as consistent, right? Yeah. So I put an extra 5 thousandths in the delay box first round, not trying to red light. So I had 20 thousandths in the delay box, and I went 19 on the tree. And my competitor went 10. So I was 100th behind. But again, here's where I got lucky. He went 6.3997. So he broke out by 3 ten-thousandths of a second. I went 6:41 on the brakes to win because I didn't break out. But yeah, 3 ten-thousandths of a second. I mean, a mosquito had hit his windshield. One more mosquito hit his windshield while going down the track. Right. He probably goes 6:40 with a 0 to win. Right. So you get lucky. You get lucky there. Second round, I was good.
You went 6.401 or 6.41.
I went 6:41 with a 1 on the brakes. Gotcha. I knew I wasn't catching him. So if you're not gonna catch a guy, there's no sense in following him through the finish line and making that as close of a race as possible. The funny thing is that as I'm watching him, he hit the brakes too. So as I hit the brakes, I watched his front end go down at the exact same time, and immediately you think, oh no. And yeah, he just didn't hit the brakes. If he would have hit the brakes 3 ten-thousandths of a second earlier, I would have been a loser.
Would you still have gone on to the next round if you ran 3.999?
9?
Yeah.
Yes, he would have broke out more.
His was worse, right?
Right, his was worse. Yeah, that's exactly how it works. So yes, if I had done that, I would have went on. But like I said, the big thing is really the fact
thinking about that is I don't think there's really any place that would eliminate both cars because they both broke out, right?
No. It's what we call the first or worst rule. Yeah, so yeah, for a breakout situation, it's whoever did it worst. And then second round. Second round. Geez, I don't even know who the heck did I run second round.
The loser.
Well, I'm looking at the number 1355. So I'm trying to remember who the heck that was. Oh, it was Eric Macaroli. That's who it was. Yeah. I had Eric second round, and I was 10 on the tree. He was 42, and I pretty much shut him out second round. Right. And then in the final, I was good on the tree. I was 005, but I was slow, and I ran against Lonnie Smith, and he red lighted. Had he gone green, who knows what would have happened? But
did the track seem to come to you the later it got?
The track. It was fairly, I will say in general, it was fairly consistent. It was super hot and humid, really hot and humid. And, I think it was...
Makes it tougher for them to breathe, huh?
It makes it tougher to breathe. I mean, the cars. The cars.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I will say that the track wasn't... The track wasn't great. It wasn't the track's fault, though. I think they said for first round on Saturday it was 144 degrees or something like that. I mean, in a situation like that, you can't make the track great. It is what it is. I mean, the track does the best job that they possibly can. And everyone pretty much lost like 0.02 of a second from that second qualifying pass to first round. But I mean, like I said, pretty much everybody across the board lost time. But it was just so darn hot and humid. It was so humid there. Yeah. I think the humidity typically ranged in the 60 to 70% range. So it was 90 degrees, 60 to 70% humidity. It was pretty darn miserable.
It's tropical. rainforest.
Yeah, it definitely was. It was definitely tropical.
You got monkeys throwing coconuts at your car.
Right. That said, I mean, some guys adapted better than others. On Saturday night, Doug Linden won, and he was dialed and on all day. It's unfortunate he beat Bill Jackson, so he beat Nitro Joe's dad in the final on Saturday, Bill, I don't know exactly what happened, but Bill drove through the stage lights in the final to hand the win to Doug. So it was a little bit anticlimactic at that point in time.
Well, the reason I ask about the track changing and everything, because initially you said you'd added to the delay box timing.
Yeah.
So that's just going to change your tree. But I mean, what else did you do to the car to try and keep it from slowing down so much, or did you want it to slow down so that it didn't break loose or anything?
Well, I mean, you watch the weather essentially, and then you try to predict the 60-foot time, so how well the car hooks leaving the starting line, and then make your prediction as far as how much time you have in your timer box from there. After going fast second time run on Saturday, I tried to slow it down, which I did, and I got fairly close first round. Again, I was on the brakes, 641. Well, I guess that was a shootout, 641. I don't even know what I ran. What did I run first round? So first round I went 645. So I was real slow first round of eliminations, and I wanted to slow it down, but I didn't want to slow it down that much. But come to find out, the problem is that the shift solenoid was not shifting the car like it should. I mean, it should snap first to second gear. And I thought I kind of caught out of this corner of my eye as I was driving around and warming the car up that it looked like it was shifting kind of lazy. But unless you actually see it and recognize it immediately, you kind of second guess yourself, and you're like, oh geez, it seemed like it wasn't shifting right, but it's like, it was probably just my imagination. I probably just didn't see it right. Well, I went back on Monday and watched GoPro videos from the car from this past weekend and from 5 years ago, and you can see 5 years ago, it shifted like that. From Saturday, it was like, so
no
that wasn't
trap action anymore, huh?
Right.
At least it shifted smooth, right?
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, and what you could see is that the 60-foot time was exactly like I expected it to be, but the 330-foot time was way off, and that's what caused the car to slow down come first round. So it was, like I said, it was not as good as I expected it to be.
You're gonna have that, right?
And then, then on Sunday, I will say that, we went back. We ended up being lucky enough to get number one qualifier Sunday, and on Sunday afternoon's race, it ended up being Eric McEroley and Nick Curry in the final. Eric, we've had on the show, the Racers for Rescues.
Arrow.
The Arrow, yes, yep. And I have to say, Eric's had a couple of trying weeks the last few weeks, and he finally figured out what his issue was, and it was nice that he got that figured out. And Nick's had some trying weeks as well. It was nice to see him go to the finals.
What did Eric have?
In the final?
Yeah.
I don't even know off the top of my head. I didn't see the times.
What car did you drive that weekend? He
was driving the Arrow. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Hey Gary, it's Chris with Final Round. Just wanted to touch base. It's about 7:30. Wanted to have you on. Give me a call back when you can. Thanks.
So trying to get in touch with Gary Harper from Dragway 42. Hopefully things are going smoothly out there. So they're running a huge bracket race out at Dragway 42 right now. Billy Lieber was actually giving me crap earlier today because of the fact that we went down for the Western NY SuperRod Association race that paid $1,200 to win per day, when the races this weekend are $75,000 to win.
Should I be ringing to Colorado?
Yes.
Gary, it's Chris. How are you? We're doing okay. We're going to put you on if you're available. Perfect. Even better. I'll set you in.
So we got Gary Harper on the line.
One.
He's directing traffic as we go. But hopefully Gary can hear us okay. Gary, how are you?
Good, guys. How are you?
We're doing all
Great,
right.
Gary. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, not a problem. Anytime we get the opportunity to spread the word on the sport we all love, we'll take that opportunity.
Well, Jason was just telling us about how great his 3 passes were and how the rest of the weekend he didn't do so hot, but otherwise the racing as a whole was fantastic out there.
Let me tell you something. Jason can time trial with the best of them. although he got beat up a little bit come first round with some really tight racing. I think overall, everybody that came over from the SuperRod group had a ball. We enjoyed having them, and we're already looking forward to a 2019 schedule date.
That was going to be one of my first questions. Is this going to happen again? But that answer's already on the table, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a great deal for us. I mean, the turnout was a little soft from what all of us wanted, but it got to show that we have the opportunity to put on a great race. We kept a very consistent racetrack over the time period. Those are the kind of things that new tracks go through. Dragway 42, obviously not new, got a rich history, been around since 1958, but the new coming out party of Dragway 42 after Ron Matcham and Marianne Matcham purchased it and revamped it. We kind of had a soft opening last year, and this year we've been going like gangbusters, just increasing our car count and all the things that we have to offer on a weekly basis. So yeah, it's growing. It's a good thing. Great facility, fun place to watch a race. And we got that pesky radio situation fixed this week. So we're ready.
What happened with the radios?
What's that?
What happened with the radios?
Our radio station broadcast, we didn't realize, but the antenna that was mounted outside the door, somebody had pinched it in the cable and broke the antenna cable. So we couldn't hardly get our classes called up to the lanes properly. And when we went to go investigate it, the thought was we were going to add more antenna and put the antenna on the roof. And when we went digging around, we went, oh, well, the antenna's cut in half. That's probably a problem. So $55 later and about 4 hours of scratching our heads, we have remedied the problem. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but we actually have an SFG 4-day bracket race going on right now. I'm sure you can hear the cars in the background. I tried to slip off to a little bit of a quiet spot so I could hear you guys, but I'm down just past the shutdown area. And we've got 330 cars on site right now. Wow. They're running a $15,000 to win race tonight. Got a $75,000 tomorrow night, 75 on Saturday, and 75 on Sunday. And let me tell you, when you're paying out $75,000, the cream floats to the top. There's some great racers here. Just about every professional sportsman racer that you could think of, they're on the Dragway 42 property as we speak.
Wow.
And you had a warm-up race last night as well, right, Gary?
Yeah, we had a warm-up race. We had a warm-up race that got cooled down very quickly with some rain. We ended up opting to go for it and dry the track. And so put our first round at 9 o'clock at night with 202 cars plus a buyback round. So you can imagine at 250 this morning when I put the 2 finalists in the water box, it was a long day. Wow. But, just goes to show the commitment of my staff and the people that are involved with Dragway 42 to put in the effort to whatever it takes to get the event done. Nobody wants to get into a deal where, you get down to the end and we split. We race these cars because we want a winner. We want to be the winner. It's no fun when Mother Nature cuts us short. So we just decided we're going to go for it and get the deal done. And believe it or not, one of our local kids that's 21 years old ended up outlasting the field that was there last night, which was pretty cool. 9-round race. So they've got a neat program. They separate the box and no box cars till they get down to one no box car. Then they introduce them into the box car field, and then when they eliminate them down to one, then the dragsters eliminate down to one, and so you end up with one dragster race and one door car usually in the final, and it's a good formula. It works out. It gives everybody a fair shake.
Sure.
And good program altogether.
Now, are you part of the ownership group that has that, or are you just there representing them as the promoter?
Yeah, well, this is basically a track rental for us. We provide the facility, we provide the glue, the track prep, the fire safety, which my fire safety guys are top notch. We provide basically all the technical support and all the operations side of it, and then they actually run the staging lanes in their portion of the event. So it's been a good partnership. It's worked out so far. We're having a good time. We've done a couple of these already where we've brought in outside promoters and shared in the expenses of the event and shared in the profits of the event, and it's working.
I think that's an interesting way to do it. It's kind of cool the way that is structured over there.
Well, it is, and let me tell you, if both parties have some skin in the game, both parties work a lot harder to make sure that you have success.
Sure.
That's what we've found over the years is if it becomes a promotional deal only to rent the facility out and then just say, hey, it's all yours, there's no extra cut at the end of it for me, the track has a tendency to kind of lay down and say, well, it's just a track rental, it's this. And
right.
We look at it as every time somebody pulls in the gates at Dragway 42, we want to give them that experience that they're looking for, and whether they win, lose, or draw, we want them looking forward to coming back again. That's the problem with our sport, with it being a single elimination deal, is this weekend we're going to have 4 or 5 winners and 350 people going home going, wow, well, I could have done better,
Sure.
So what we do want to do is we want to leave them with an experience that says, I had a ball, they treated us good, and we're looking forward to going back. So that's what we do, and by doing the splits and working some of the costs with these guys, I tell them straight up, I'm in it with you. If it doesn't make it, we're both going to not make it, and if it makes it big, we're both going to make it big. But
right.
I think more tracks need to look at doing stuff like that. We're all competing for car count. We're all competing for what we would refer to in this day and age as the entertainment dollar. We've got to look at things that will put butts in the seats, things that are entertaining. We've got to look at races that make sense. You're not going to drive to my facility from 4.5 hours away for one set of eliminations and pack it up and go home. Now, if I can package that up with a 2 or a 3-day event, now it makes it more savvy to come spend the time and do the event. So I think a lot of these racetracks just need to look at how they're scheduling stuff and how they're trying to make it. I mean, everybody'd like to make $1 million doing this, but you better start with 3 or 4 because it's a rough gig. Tracks that make money are paid off tracks that have been around a long time, that have a good solid core, got a great bracket racing program. They got their 2 or 3 races a year that bring in the spectators. The jet car races and all the fun stuff that goes along with the dog and pony show, if you will, of drag racing. Those are the kind of things that they're going to do to keep their facility going. One like myself that's just getting this place going, it's packed every weekend with something. I mean, this weekend we've got this big SFG race. Next weekend we've got a huge race. It's our points race number 5 and 6. Our last points race, we had 430 something entries. We're planning on doubling that up again. Then the following week is our big claim to fame, which is the Rockin' Race. We do 10 rockabilly bands playing while we're running old nostalgia cars, gassers, funny cars, fueled altereds, all kinds of good stuff. Yes. So just got to think outside the box constantly. It's a struggle.
I mean, with a case like you've got where you're sort of renting the facility, but everybody's in on it together, win together, lose together type setup. It's a big jump to do a race like you're doing right now. But I mean, you've also got a big jump in electing to go forward with a race like you had the other night with a warm-up event where you were facing struggles with weather. Those conversations, if everybody's not on the same page, it can ruin a partnership in a hurry. So that's a compliment to you guys working together effectively.
Well, it is, and we sat down briefly, and they said 9 out of 10 guys have pulled the plug right now. I mean, we're way behind. I mean, we look at the car count, and we could just basically, first round hadn't happened yet. We could just hand everybody their money back, and I said, and the bad part is, and we knew looking at radar, we were 30 minutes from being dry weather to start drying the track, and it looked like nothing else was going to be behind it. I said, what if all your guys are driving around on a golf cart at 10 o'clock tonight and the track's drying out and they're thinking to themselves, we could be racing right now. I said, I've been that guy. I've canceled races too soon. I've been at races that were canceled too soon. I said, let's put a solid hour in on drying it. I said, and then let's see where we're at. And at the end of the hour, it was close enough to actually start calling cars in the lanes. I was down an hour and 15 minutes, and we went racing. So, that's a deal that could go either way. You got to be smart enough to know what's possible. I looked at it. It was 79 degrees. Dew point was at 70. Humidity was only like 71%. I'm like, this is doable, guys. This, with a little bit of effort, a little bit of hard work, we can make this happen. And so, yeah, it does take a lot of teamwork. We sat down and they said, well, you know what? It's your baby. It's your track. You know your asphalt better than anybody. Can we get it done? And I said, absolutely. We're just going to give it a stab and see what happens. And the beauty of a commitment like that is now if a situation comes up and I've got to go to Kyle Riley that runs SFG and I say, look, brother, it ain't going to happen. He's going to look at me and know 100% that it can't happen. I mean, if I'm telling you it's not going to fly, it's not going to fly. And so there's a lot of trust there. And that trust gets built by doing things like pushing through a bad situation, getting through some adversity, and just making good on the deal. The Matchams expect me to make good decisions, and yeah, we've messed a few of them up this year. Called races, and weather was good, or turned, or did something weird, and everybody just tells me, "Welcome to Ohio," and I say, "Well, I guess that goes for anywhere that lives near these lakes. It changes the weather so quick that you really can't judge on it, but we're going to do what we can to make it work."
That's cool.
Yeah, and I will say that, Gary, you were just really great to work with this past weekend for our event. You talk about, everybody having skin in the game. And, from the very beginning when we started talking about this race up until the last week kind of preparing for it, I always felt like we were in on this together, right? And even though our series was run separate from you guys, you were making suggestions with regards to how to run pots and purses and stuff like that. And, we said, when I told you, here's what our payout was going to be, you immediately, stepped up and said, well, I'm going to make our payout for the Super Comp and Hot Rod classes exactly the same as yours so that we can have a nice, consistent payout. And, yeah, that definitely gives you the fact of this, team spirit that we're kind of all in this together and all trying to make this work. And, Saturday night when we talked about doing the top 8 shootout, it was getting late. We knew that you had fireworks there at 10 o'clock, and we came and talked to you and said, hey, what are we going to do? Do we have time to do this? And you looked and said, yeah, we can do it. If we get it going now, let's go. Let's still do this. And it's nice to have somebody that's, willing to work with you like that. And, like I said, I would certainly encourage any organization out there looking to host a race to contact you and definitely try to work with you to set something up, because you guys were just a dream to work with.
Well, we appreciate that. And like I said, it's a definite team effort. My thing is I thought it was really funny. Ray and Dave Connolly are both here at this event, and Ray is a local guy, lives in Elyria, Ohio, which is only 25 minutes north of the track. And he says, you do that event next year, we'll be there. He says, I've just heard nothing but great things about it. And, it was light on car count for what we wanted, but the program made sense. Everybody worked together. we got the traveling guys finished up and on the road on Sunday. We were done at 3:00 in the afternoon, which was great to have a full day of racing and still be able to hit the road by 3.
Agreed.
Yeah, I feel pretty strongly on that. I tell people all the time I started racing myself in '88 and spent a lot of time chasing national event points and did the whole rodeo and spent a lot of time big money bracket racing on the West Coast. And I tell people all the time, it's real easy to do one of these deals if you think like a racer. There'll be a lot of people that'll tell you, you can't be a racer and be a promoter because you're going to give away the farm,
Right.
And ultimately, there are days when I have to look at the owner and go, well, sorry, buddy, this is what we're going to do, but we're building something here. And they've seen where we're building. When I came to work for Dragway 42, basically a year ago, the biggest points race they had was 216 cars. The points race that we just had 2 weeks ago was 430 cars.
Wow.
So that tells you right there that we've doubled the car count, and we're just cleaning house. And it's because we stayed with the principles of, if you take care of the racer will take care of you.
Right.
You try to guarantee the payouts no matter what the cost.
Yep.
There's going to be days when you're looking at yourself and you're looking at your wife and you're looking at your friends and you're going, this is stupid that I'm doing this. But for the greater the good, it's just what has to happen, because sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and we're not doing any of this to make a lot of money. We're just trying to survive and keep our series viable and able to go out and have some fun with these cars. And not to knock what NHRA has done, but they've gotten so big and they've kind of taken the 90 racer right out of the equation. I mean, they'd like to see the top sportsman, top dragster stuff. And,
right.
I think if it wasn't for our money to put the show on for them to pay the pros, they wouldn't even bother with us at a national event.
Sure.
And to go to a divisional race these days at $165, $175 entry and show up on Friday and get one hit, and then get one hit on Saturday and go race on Sunday and get beat with an 8 or 10 thou package, and now you're going home. It just doesn't leave a real good taste in your mouth. So these associations have got to be the next place for these type of cars to go play.
Right.
We had 84 super stock cars
right.
here.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, that was a great deal. I mean, and they were coming from Michigan. They were coming from Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, New York, all over. And, those are guys that are starting to feel the crunch of not having a home.
Right.
So we've got to step up, and it's going to take a few of us tracks and a few guys like yourself that's committed to a group and try to just keep the thing alive, because there's a lot of the biggest problem is a lot of these guys have taken their cars that were set up for super categories and have made them bracket cars.
That's right.
And I get it, but there's nothing cooler than seeing an old early 90s Brogy Roadster out here racing around and knowing, in the early 90s that when you ran super gas, there was 100 of them in the staging lanes.
That's
it seemed
right.
like that was the cool car to have then.
Yep.
And I just believe that all these old cars have either turned into bracket cars or they're just simply sitting in a garage because people are not sure what to do with them.
Right.
So we want to give them a home to come play.
Yep. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And unfortunately, there are a lot of cars that are sitting, like you said, because guys just don't know what to do with them at this point. And hopefully,
there's no resale value in them. I guarantee you that.
Right.
Because there people know there's no place to take them.
Right.
The way they were designed. I mean, let's face it. Most of these super gas cars, the motors are moved way back. They're intended to run on the stop. They're intended to hit the tree hard.
Yep.
And they don't bracket race very well because, simply to make them run wide open, you got to make a lot of adjustments, and some of them don't quite fare too well. I mean, there's a reason why when Davis built his Roadsters, he built a bracket racing version with the motor set 7 inches farther forward than his super gas version.
Right.
It's because they knew what it was going to take to make it work, and it's like, all you're going to do is flip this thing over backwards trying to leave wide open. So I hope it comes around. We're going to do our part. I believe that we're going to do it a couple times a year. We've had an influx in our index series that we run, our no electronics index classes, the 550,
right,
60, 650, and 1150.
You had a very big car count this past weekend for those classes.
Yeah, it was pretty decent. And the thing is those kinds of cars, not my deal. I like the throttle stop, the delay box, all the bells and whistles. Give me the rule book and let me push it to the limit kind of guy. But we took a lot of our grassroots racers and said, hey, with a bolt in the floorboard or a mechanical stop or pull some timing out of it, you can come out here and do some heads-up racing and hit a pro tree and come out and have a good time. And we started out, and the first time we did that deal, it had like 6 cars in each class. And we're like, oh, boy, this is not going to work. And now we're in the 20s.
Right.
So it's building. And guys have to have an opportunity to build a car and know where they're going with it. And half these guys, they get their car built and the class is gone because
right.
a track tried it. And they go, well, that didn't work. Our street outlaw buddies down in Oklahoma have made so much about the heads up, no prep, fast street car stuff that every racetrack in the country has tried a true street or a drag radio class, including myself. And, you're talking about $150,000 car. This ain't no, I can just take my Malibu that I got 12 grand in and come out and compete and be competitive. I mean, these guys are spending serious money.
Yep.
And then they get mad because there's only 4 cars that show up.
Right.
Well, how many people have 150 grand to throw around to go build something like this?
Right.
So it's drag racing in general. It's got to have some wake up call. It's definitely a sport that I've spent 30 years in. And I'd like to spend another 30. But there are days when I'm not quite sure it's going to make it. We'll just have to see how it goes.
Well, it just so much to pick from. I mean,
I will say that the index classes. So I have to say, Gary, Dragway 42. That's the biggest showing of index classes that I've seen at any track for, let's call it a regular class. And we had a couple of guys come over and race with us as well. Les Ames raced with us, and Lonnie Smith. I mean, he went rounds. He raced a lot with us this past weekend. I think he had if I remember correctly, I think he has a throttle stop, I think he has a delay box, but no throttle stop in his car. And he lost third round.
And he just runs it wide open, and it just happens to be right there.
Right.
So that in his car in bracket mode, he's anywhere from a 36 to a 42, so it just worked out perfect. He's like, hey, that's me.
Right.
I'm that guy. I can make that happen. And so you take a local guy and give him an opportunity and let him be successful.
Yeah, and he had, I will say that, he came up to me at the end of the event and said he had fun, and he's thinking about potentially coming out to Empire Dragway for our next set of races, which is in the middle of September. But yeah, overall, I mean, everybody that I talked to, I have to say, for the most part, didn't hear a single complaint from anybody. Everybody said the same thing. It was my goal. I told everybody all weekend, what I want people to leave here at the end of the weekend and say, hey, you know what? I had fun. This was a fun weekend. And like I said, that's all I heard. All I heard was positive things. And I hope people weren't just, blowing smoke, and they really did have fun. But that's all I heard was positive things.
Well, we think so. I mean, you get a race weekend like this where they're racing for $75,000. Somebody's definitely getting their feelings hurt at the end of the day just because the stakes are so high. But I think the way that you had your structure of your stuff and me copying what you did, it just made it to where it's a fun deal. I mean, we got down to 4 cars in Super Comp. They're all buddies. And they said, basically, hey, we will, excuse me, we'll all split right here. There's how much money is that? $1,200 in the pot. Okay, we'll all split it, $400, and we'll go our separate ways. And then I had one guy that said, I really like to race because I just need more practice at the top end. And then Bill Jackson goes, well, I'll run you. What are we racing for? And I go, a Dragway 42 t-shirt and a hat. Fine, we're in. And so the two of them raced, and they both had great packages. And, well, needless to say, they both left with Dragway 42 hats and shirts. So, those are the kind of cool things that you can do. And they're going to have a memorable experience. They're not going to forget that deal.
Right,
and
right.
That's the whole deal for you guys is, don't forget about us. Come back, see us. And, I know time's winding down, but anytime you guys want to chat and just see how things are going here in Ohio and kind of just get a feel for how the sport's headed in our neck of the woods, I'm always available.
We'll definitely keep that in mind for sure. I know you got a race to run out there, and it's the first of many, many races you're going to run this weekend with big money races all weekend long. I think you said it was $75,000 both Saturday and Sunday. That's a big chunk of money.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, right?
All three.
Yeah, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah, it's $75,000 each day.
And for anybody that's listening, I mean, they're still accepting entries at the gate. So you want to go out there, show up at the gate. They're accepting entries. So now, Gary, I guess before you cut us loose, I mean, what's up and coming on the schedule that people should know about?
Well, like I said, our points race program with Summit that they sponsor for IHRA is coming up next weekend. We do a Friday night shootout typically that pays $2,000 to win for the box cars. Our top or our mod class or Super Pro and Pro pays $2,000 to win, $800 to runner up. So we do those on the weekend next weekend. The following weekend after that, again, is that big rockin' race.
Yep.
So if you're into rockabilly music and old gassers and just cool stuff, it's more of a geared toward spectator event. But you talk about having fun. If you got a 72 or older car, that's a cool one to get into. We've got the Aces of Ohio. It's a big dollar bracket race. I believe it's going to be $30,000 a day to win. That'll be in September. The 11th, 12th, 13th of September. We've got a pro mod event. You were here when we ran the pro mods.
Right.
We've got one of them September 1st or Labor Day weekend, the Friday and Saturday of Labor Day weekend. So a lot of cool stuff coming up. Problem is we're just like you guys there in New York. Our race season's fairly short.
Right.
With the weather. So we're going to run really hard till about mid-October, and then we'll just kind of play it by ear. We've got our Halloween race is epic. We had 550 entries last year.
Oh my God.
I'm planning on having somewhere around 700 this year.
Wow.
It'll be $6,000 to win. It'll be a couple of rounds of eliminations on Saturday, finish up on Sunday. Just an absolute great deal. We do a shopping cart race. We do golf cart races. We do trailer decorating contest, full schedule. So anybody that's interested, have them look up Dragway42.com or look us up on the Facebook page and follow us at Dragway42, and they can get all the info there, or they can call the number on the web, and they're going to end up getting my wife, who can direct them the way that we need to. Perfect.
Well, he did all the plugs on his own.
He did all the plugs on it. Exactly. It sounds like, I think Gary's done this before.
Yeah, it's not the first day. Well, Gary, man, I appreciate you coming on the show. For sure, we're going to keep you in mind and treat that like a two-way street. If anything comes up that you got to talk about, be sure to give us a call. We'll always make some time for you.
Perfect. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much, and we'll be in touch.
Sounds great. Thanks,
Gary. A lot, Gary. We'll see you later.
All right, man. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Gary Harper from Dragway 42. Dragway42.com has all the details that you could want and ask for, all the details about the schedule. The Halloween race sounds cool. And just doing some quick math, they are paying out some serious money.
Oh, yeah.
It's no joke. I mean, their entries, it's just mind-bending to think about how many cars they're drawing in for some of these events, because we don't get anything like that up here.
I have to say that, Empire has had some decent events overall, but we definitely don't get, this SFG race. Now, granted, the entry's fairly high. I think it's $750 for a Friday, Saturday, Sunday race. But $75,000 to win, there's nothing like that around here. I mean, that is just crazy. And, buybacks are not for the faint of heart. But again, when you're in a race for $75,000 to win, you got to be willing to throw a couple $100. I mean, at this point, you've already trailered there, right? You've already paid your $750 entry for the weekend. What's another couple $100, right? So
I mean, he hit on a lot of great points too about the role of the racetrack and the role of the promoter working with the ownership, and the fact that people have got to start sticking their necks out a little bit further and making destination events.
Right.
So that you've got a reason to go try these other tracks out. Because so many cars are sitting idle or looking for a home or something like that, they're heading in a good trajectory.
Yeah. I mean, this past weekend with us was a good example. So, I mean, Friday they had one of their index classes racing on Friday. Then on Saturday they had a car show. It was a car show. There was something else going on, too. But then they also had Pro Mods. And this Quick 8 dragster class on Saturday along with us as well. And then Sunday was just basically the super gas, super comp, and super street. And their index classes as well. But I mean, it was a full program, and it was it was definitely interesting. And I will say too, it really is a cool track to watch from, the way that they built the property. The racetrack is flat, but they built the actual pits going uphill. So you can basically go sit down at the 8th mile and you are elevated in the air. You have a perfect perspective of the entire track. It's nice from a driver's standpoint too, because you drive up into the staging lanes and you get to the top of the hill, and at that point in time you can basically just coast the rest of the way down. You can shut the engine off, and even if you're stopped, you can just pull it into neutral, and you don't have to start the car up and continually start the car up to pull forward. It's a really nice facility, and I'm sure Gary will tell you it's like, oh yeah, well, we still have a whole bunch of improvements to be made, and I'm sure that's true, but it really is a nice facility. The people there were top-notch. They treated us fantastic. Their announcer was great. I can't tell you how good their announcer was.
Yeah.
When they were down for a break, he had gone to the Western NY SuperRod Association website and went to our list of sponsors and was announcing, here's the sponsors for Western NY SuperRod Association. I didn't have to ping him for that.
Did you hit your winners? Your division winners?
So our division winners, so we had Doug Linden on Saturday.
Okay.
Obviously, I was the king on Saturday night, and then Eric Macaroli was the winner on Sunday. So Eric beat Nick Curry on Sunday,
right. Yep.
and Doug Linden beat Bill Jackson on Saturday.
Gotcha. Just want to make sure we got those in there.
And actually, again, Saturday night in the top 8 race, it was me and Lonnie Smith, and Lonnie is, again, one of Dragway 42's normal index racers. So, right. I mean, here's a guy that his car basically all out, no throttle stop, runs 640, and he lost third round in Saturday's and Sunday's race and went to the final of the top 8 shootout. I mean, he did okay.
Yeah, he had a good weekend.
Yeah, definitely, it was a fun time. Like I said, I would like to go back there, and Gary and his wife Gary are just fantastic people to work with. I'm looking forward to going back for sure.
Cool. Well, that's great. I mean, big seal of approval for Gary Harper and the efforts out there at Dragway 42 online, dragway42.com. That is going to do it for us. We appreciate Gary making some time for us, especially tonight, given he's in the middle of running a race.
Right.
Always good to catch up with somebody who's at the racetrack like that and dedicated to the cause. A lot of good stuff discussed tonight on episode number 45. Congratulations again to Jason picking up a win in the top 8 shootout on Saturday, and all of the folks that made an effort to compete with the Western NY SuperRod Association, their first trip out to Dragway 42. That is going to do it for us here at the FingerLakes1.com studios. We're going to be back again in 2 weeks. Next week we are off, and so we'll be back on the 23rd. Good with that?
I'm good with that.
Good with that. Perfect. So we'll see everybody on the 23rd. That's going to do it for us. We'll see everybody again next time. This has been the Final Round Drag Racing Podcast, coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. We'll see you right back here again in 2 weeks. Thanks for watching.